Hey guys, I'm Matt King. I'm 28. I'm a combo rig welder. I've done single-hand work in plants, and I graduated from KWI about 3 years ago now.
All right, we're here with former student Matt King, and we're going to go over just his experience in welding and what he's been doing since graduating. Now, Matt, before we get into coming to KWI and your welding experience after graduating, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I really don't know that much about you before KWI.
Yeah.
So, like, who were you before KWI? What did you get into? What are the things that you like to do? And then, who was you before KWI?
Right. So in high school, riding dirt bikes, four-wheeling.
Up in Ohio?
Yeah. In
Okay.
Northern Kentucky.
Gotcha.
Just doing all kinds of stuff like that. I played football, basketball, everything normal upbringing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was going to go to college, I wanted to be in the Navy. So I was also playing football, so I got a scholarship to Lindsey Wilson College, played some D2 football there. I was going to get a degree and go in, and then I started doing more research. I was like, you know what, I just need to go in the military now. So went to the recruiter's office, joined up. It took me I was in depth for a year, so it delayed me another year. Went in as a nuclear machinist mate. I didn't go through didn't make it through their A school, and then
Through the military?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then got cross-rated air traffic control, and I did that for 4 years after my year of training in the Navy.
So that was right after high school?
Yeah.
So how old are you right now?
I'm 28.
You're
in a couple
28.
days.
Okay. So 4 years after high school, you did the military, the Navy, more specifically. Okay.
Yeah, I had a 5-year contract, and that was a year after, and then a semester college.
So what?
I was
So
turned 20 in boot camp, I think.
So those 4 years after high school in the Navy, were you traveling around a lot doing that?
In the Navy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I started in, boot camps in Chicago, and then I went to an A school in Goose Creek, South Carolina, near Charleston.
Okay.
And then after that, I went to Pensacola, Florida, for air traffic control A school. It's like your first schooling that you get in the military. They call it A school, and then your next you get like a C school. I did that later in my career.
So what's air traffic control for the military, like specifically? Because I have no idea what that is.
So there's two types. You're either in like a tower or in a radar facility in general with air traffic control. So the towers, the guys you see at the airport, they're looking around, they're ground control, they're local control. They're taking everything within 5 miles of 2,500 feet.
That's for the Navy?
That's for everywhere.
Everywhere in the military?
Navy, Air Force, anybody's got an air base and civilian side. That's all kind of the same setup.
Okay.
Or you can be in a radar facility, which is everything in between airports. And they have that. It's like in-route facilities. They control a lot more airspace, a lot higher airspace. Even above airports, they got planes flying over. That's
Gotcha.
not going to interfere with anything.
Okay.
The Navy's the only one that's got moving airports. So you're landing helicopters and jets on something that's turning and moving.
The boats.
So that's what I was. It was its own special thing.
Okay.
And that's the C school I went to, was amphibious air traffic control.
Okay.
C school for LHDs. Mostly helos and then AV-8s is what they did.
Gotcha. So after high school, you did that for 4 years. Is that what you wanted to do? Or is that just
I started
kind of...
as a nuclear machinist mate.
Yeah.
And I wanted to weld on reactors. I wanted to weld on reactors.
Okay.
Which is a very specialized program that you have to go. You have to be a nuclear machinist mate first, and then there's subcategories. You can do 2 or 3 more trainings, and then you get to do the welding on the reactors, and they're the only ones that can do that in the world.
Okay.
On U.S. Ships.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did that for 4 years, and then 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so 5 years you were doing the Navy and the air traffic control,
Yeah.
and then...
Which surprisingly, I did a whole lot more security and Tiger teams, which is like rehabilitation of the ship. I got sit TAD a lot, and then I got to do a little bit of welding in the Navy while I was there, just tacking like TV frames and brackets for doors and small stuff like that.
Okay, so then after your 5... Now, was that a set 5 years in the military, or is that just what you wanted to do?
That was contract.
Okay, so after that contract had ended, then what?
I knew I wanted to weld, but I didn't know where or what. And I found rig welding through research of friends of like I had a guy that was from Texas. His dad was a petroleum engineer. So I looked at that for a little bit because I knew I wanted to maximize how much money I can make for my time,
Right.
to like get to my real estate goals faster, which is what I want to end up in one day.
Interesting.
And then, so I was looking at petroleum engineering. It's like 4 years college because it was going to be paid for by the Navy. So I didn't care about the cost.
Right.
And then they make the most after a 4-year degree, and they make $105,000 at the time. After the 4-year degree, their first year they make $105,000.
Okay.
And then it goes up from there. I was looking at like a 10-year plan, how much money I could make in 10 years.
So you sat down and was like, okay, what's the most money I can make after a 4-year school?
Right.
And it was a petroleum engineer. And what year was that?
I was 20,
Like 16?
19.
19.
Yeah, that's the one I was really looking, because I had to make up my mind in 2018, I think. And I made up my mind in 2018 and started looking for stuff to do after I got out, because you got to do it way early,
Dude,
to get out. Yeah.
Speaking of 2019, that was the year to buy housing, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. Gee, it was like 2019. Blake bought and built Blake built his house for $90,000. Dude, a whole house for $90,000. So like in hindsight, golly, if someone had a lot of money, they could have like.
And I was making like 30 grand a year.
In 2019,
I
know 2019 was the year to buy real estate. You know,
Yeah.
but it'll happen again. So you did research on the best,
Most bang
money,
for your buck
best
for-
bang for your buck for 4 years.
For a 10-year span.
A 10-year plan. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then I found rig welding. I started going, well, if I could break out a year or two after getting out of school, and 10 years from now, how much money could pocket to invest vice the petroleum engineer.
So you were doing the math for like a 4-year degree.
Yeah, 4 years of training where you're making
then-
$0,
Right.
right? You just barely, Navy gives you a book stipend and like a monthly thing. So you're not really making any money there. And then the next, years after school, trying to play catch up. And then I found, welding, like, holy.
Right.
First 6 months, a year, break in, and then 2 years, whoa, 3 years, you got 5 years in, now you know some people, and now you're really rolling.
So then you did research on like specialty schools like KWI.
Yep.
And he's like, wait a minute, I don't need 4 years. You just need a hardcore 6 months.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. So
And then
where was
then
you
you're
whenever-
making money year one.
Right.
You're not waiting 4 years to make money.
Exactly. So your whole goal was, what's the quickest way to get to real estate?
Yeah.
And it was 6 months of welding and then just making good money welding.
Hitting the road.
So where was you at whenever you were figuring this all out? Was you here in Ohio or were you on like
I was
a
on
Navy
deployment.
base? You're on deployment.
Yeah. So I was working nights, crossing the Atlantic, all through the 5th and 6th Fleet over there in the Middle East. So we went through the Med, went through the Suez Canal,
Wow.
up around Africa, and then through
So y'all went around
Strait of
Africa.
Hormuz. Yeah. No, not around Africa, just inside. So you go through the Med and then come down through Egypt, through
Yes,
the Suez
okay.
Canal.
Come up
Yep.
and around. Okay.
And then you come up through, up into the Red Sea, through the Strait of Hormuz. Mm-hmm. That was right when Iran started messing with oil tankers.
Interesting.
And we were right there.
Was it
looking
pretty
at 'em.
dangerous?
For a little bit,
Tense,
that was.
tense.
Like, we were on alert, 24/7.
Wow.
At any second, it could pop off. We go to battle stations. And that was for like a month straight of, oh
Right.
no. And they were changing our rules of engagement on the fly. So with anything within 100 yards of a ship, you have the green light, shoot it. Like you're not allowed to get near a Navy ship.
Wow.
Out in the ocean. And then they changed that to 50 yards. And then it was 25 yards. So you're 25 yards looking at somebody in another warship. It was a little dinghy, little boats and stuff.
Wow.
But they got 50 cows pointed at you, and we got our 50 pointed at them. Like, what are we doing here?
So you're sitting there getting ready to go to
Yeah.
war, and you're
You're-
trying to figure out how you can get to
Yeah,
real
now
estate.
I need to make a decision about my life after this. And it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, man, okay.
A little bit different. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what timeline was that? So you were over there crossing the Atlantic. What year was that? 19, correct?
2018.
2018.
Into 2019, I think.
And then
Or 17 and 18, I can't remember.
So then you came to KWI when?
It'd been, I graduated July, so it would have been like January sometime of 2020,
Okay.
2021. What year is it now? Jeez,
It's
24,
2024. Yeah.
2023, 2022, January 21. So it was January 21.
Okay. After all the COVID stuff.
Yeah. January 21. I got out December of 20. and then I had to wait like a month.
Yeah.
So January 21, classed up, July 1st, 21 and got out.
Okay, yeah, because welding's always dead in the December and January usually. Okay, so when you came to KWI, what was your goal when you came here? Just to learn the downhill aspect of everything?
So I wanted to be able to do plants and downhill.
Gotcha.
So I wanted to be rounded enough to do everything, and capable to learn anything.
Right.
So I wanted to get as many certs as I could in the many different processes on, especially specialty metals. I wanted stainless. I wanted Inconel, copper nickel, super duplex. I wanted all that stuff. At least to have like time on it, because that's something like you don't get a lot of places. It's just time on specialty metals.
Right.
Like that's really unheard of in a lot of welding programs. And your 4-year degrees.
Right.
Your degree in metal in welding. It's like it's not something they do even there. So that's why I really wanted specialty. Welding, and then be able to do downhill.
Well, and you could work year round with that too. You know, the downhills, it goes up and down with the presidents and the elections and how the country's doing at the time. But also, since you've done that here at KWI, you can always brush up on it too.
Right.
That's a big thing. You messed with it, you practiced it, you learned it, and then if you forget it, you can just come back in and get going on that. Okay, so you left here with alloys and downhill, correct? And then what was your first job out of KWI like? Because everybody's first job is like bottom of the barrel, like.
So it wasn't too bad. It was, I didn't even test in.
Was it Ohio, wasn't it?
No, it was Georgia, I believe.
Okay.
I was working for Spirit Construction.
Okay.
They were doing stainless in a P&G paper plant.
Yeah.
So they were behind schedule, needing guys. I showed up and they're like, "Hey, can you weld stainless?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "All right, go." They're like, "What? What about drug testing, this and that?" And they're like, "No, just go weld. We'll figure that out later."
Yeah.
Cool. So like hour 1, day 1, I'm in there welding stainless.
Really?
Like, here we go.
So what was that? Was it kind of nerve-wracking?
Super nerve-wracking.
I bet, dude.
Because like I was expecting to like take my weld test,
kind of
get my
warm
box
up.
in. Here we go. Hey, here's your fitter. Here's what's going on. Here's what we're doing. It was go to work right now. Oh man. So I'm in there shaking a little bit. I'm like,
so was you welding in jack stands in the ground, or was this up in the pipe rack?
In a pipe rack. It was behind air vents and all
So
around
what
corners.
size pipe were you welding?
2-inch to 6 inch.
So y'all were purging that, right? Okay.
It was nitrogen purge on tie-ins.
Okay.
Anything in the jack stands, it was solar flux.
Solar flux,
So
gotcha.
they wanted to save money.
One of the cheaper companies.
Yeah. Solar flux.
Interesting.
And surprise, it's real, and there it is. Now you're doing it.
Yeah.
So that was a learning curve.
Gotcha.
And then coming out, didn't really know how to put metal to pipe to not get a dog leg or move it out of square.
Right.
So that was another. I had a fitter that was a welder, and he'd been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah.
So I was leaning on him a lot, and he helped me out a ton. And like, hey, do it this way. Do quarter 1, then quarter 3, quarter 4, then quarter 2.
Correct.
And then you won't put put all that heat on one side of the pipe. You'll spread it out evenly. You do quarters.
Yes.
And you'll keep it square.
That's
how I learned. Is that first job, just learning how to put heat to it, and keep it in square.
Right, and especially stainless too.
Yeah.
You know, because it's nerve-wracking too, but also
carbon's a little more forgiving, which is like that would have been a little easier into the industry. Would have been a carbon job,
right?
Right
But
off
that
the
really
rip.
got you. You know, usually the best way to get good at something or learn is just to be thrown in the fire, man. Just freaking dumped in and it's like survive.
John Wayne style. You can't swim,
right? Throw them in. No, I agree. And also, whatever you learned with stainless there, you can take it and apply it to carbon as well, and it'll go a lot better too. You know, like what I always tell people is like, if field welds, do not quarter the root because you'll put yourself in a bind. Always go bottom, like do this quarter, this quarter, this quarter, this quarter, and then fill and hot pass and cap it like that.
Yeah.
That keeps everything straight. But like if you're doing the root, you know, I always just bottom the top, but still quarter it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, if you're in the jack stands, obviously quarter the whole thing, and you can roll it or whatever. But that's just one of the things.
a little more freedom.
A little more freedom, yeah. You can get to.
Plus, it's a controlled environment. And you can work with wind.
Right.
You can make it nice and easy on yourself.
And if you mess something up, you're right there. You know.
Yeah.
So.
And then the other thing is, so many guys are like, oh, you're not a field welder or whatever. You're rolling everything out. I was like, man, I'm here for production.
Right.
I'm not here to like mess around. I'm
Right.
gonna get most mows as I can, as easy as I can. I'm gonna
Right.
make it easy on me.
Right, exactly.
Because why make it harder on yourself?
Right.
If you know you can do that, and that's one thing. If you're practicing,
Right.
yeah, obviously make it as hard as possible.
Right.
That's what I love about KWI. You can make it as hard as you want.
Right.
And then just trying to get your numbers up, get faster, get better. And that's every job I've had is it was a little bit faster on this one. The next one I was a little bit faster.
Right.
This one I was a little better at keeping it whatever. And
Yeah.
everything you get better at fitting as you're going along and pulling measurements and running your own lines and then running crews and stuff like that. You just get better and better.
And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, look, every job you go on, try to weld as fast as you can and have good shots, because companies will always call you back if you're fast and you shoot good.
Yep.
And I've never had an issue with work, and I'm pretty sure you haven't either, because you just try to weld as fast as you can and make it weld fast, make it look good, make it shoot.
Yep.
And if you can do that, you'll shine and you'll stay busy year round.
Oh, yeah.
So after that first job, then what was your next couple jobs looking like? Because
So-
your end goal was a rig welder.
Right.
So you can't just jump right into rig welding. You have to build your truck, you gotta meet people, and plus the
So-
rig jobs are slimmer than plant jobs.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot less
Right.
openings. So while I was in the Navy, I bought a truck, F-350, and I bought a bed and I bought a welding machine. So I had all my rig semi together,
Okay.
I didn't have bottles or regulators or torch hose or nothing like that. But I had it put together before I even came to KWI because I knew that's what I was wanting to do. I saved my money in the Navy and then that's what I spent it on.
now, did you bring your rig truck here to use?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so towards the end of my time here, especially when I was doing downhill, I was using my machine a
Right.
lot, trying to figure it out, see what settings I like, how hot I want to run. It was SA200 red
Okay.
face, and got that figured out. And then that was another weird thing because I was older than most guys coming out of high school, going to KWI, and then going into the industry.
Okay.
I was already had 5 years in the Navy, a year before that, and then 6 months before that.
Right.
So I was 7 years older than everybody else,
Gotcha.
generally, for the most part. And then I had a rig truck, so I rolled to a job, and they see a rig truck, and I'm like, well, maybe this guy, whatever, and like they would say something about it. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm just starting out, man. I just got that together. And
Yeah.
like try to be, talk myself up as much as I could,
Right.
but not be like,
Exaggerate.
yeah, like, oh, I'm the best hand there ever was. And I'm
Right.
like, not knowing what I'm talking about. So that was another weird aspect of it, being a little bit older, getting into it. I noticed that in the military, it was the same thing with the military. So guys that got in at like 28 years old, they may have been the same rank as you, but they had a little bit more life experience. So it was a little bit more valuable to them anyways, just managing and working with other people.
Right.
You had more experience in that, so they had a different go about things a little bit. If that makes sense.
Yeah, thought process.
Yeah. So I had sort of the same thing. Still had all the nerves, still had all the learning to do,
Right.
but I had a different.
But you kind of you probably acted and looked different and kind of had a different mindset than someone who's 18 right out of high school trying to be a
Right.
rig welder.
Yeah. I'm not trying to like just I don't know, buy fancy clothes and
Right.
wear your whatever and look a certain way.
Right.
I had a different goal in mind, so I wasn't
Right.
going out and partying on the weekends and this is awesome. We're
Right.
making so much money here. I'm going to the camper. I gotta, all I'm worried about is my next day of work or my next job or my next
Right.
plans. My check.
Right.
Up here, and I'm like, what is this one over here? Steel mill. I ain't never worked in a steel mill. Let's do it. Put in the little thing, got a number, called that number. It was with a recruiter. They're like, hey, what's your experience? I told them everything I have welded, what I've been doing. They're like, all right, you take a test over here this day in Indiana. So I just went from Ohio, Northeast Ohio to Southwest Indiana. Tested in, it was like Friday that job. It was Thursday or Friday that job was shut down, and Saturday I was working.
Gotcha.
That's the next one. So that was the first. Oh no! And then, whew, man, good thing I can do
Bounce
more than
back
one
pretty
thing.
fast.
Yeah, I can go get in a job right now.
Right.
In a hurry. So that was really cool to see how fast I can turn around.
Gotcha.
And then the problem with there was no campground within like a long way.
Gotcha.
So I took my camper back home, parked it, went up there, took the weld test, make sure I took the weld, passed it.
Right.
Sleep in my truck for the first week.
Really?
Yeah. Because there's nowhere to put a camper, and I couldn't afford a hotel.
Oh my god.
Oh no. So I was doing that. At the time, I had my back seat was out already, and I had a bed in there, so it was a good thing.
Worked out pretty good.
Whew, man. And then, so after work every day, I'll go drive around through these country roads and knock on a door. Hey, my name's Matt. Here's what I'm doing. I'm working at the steel mill. I'm looking for a place to put a camper.
Yeah.
Ended up finding a guy. It was like 200 houses I probably knocked on.
No way.
Looking for a campground spot. Found a guy with a camper hooked up to his house. Like, hey, I don't have water, but $100 a week, sure.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It was maybe $200 a month or something. It was really cheap. Because the campground there was like probably $600 a month. It was pretty high.
Yeah, that is.
The closest one, and it was like a half hour, 30-40 minute drive. So 10-minute drive around. I found a farmhouse with a hookup.
Wow.
Cool. Okay. Put it there. Made it work. Once every 2 weeks, I go hook up my camper, take it to the truck stop, dump the tanks, fill up on fresh water, and then come back, park it, and hook it into electric.
Okay.
So I did that for a little while. And that steel mill was not what I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Yeah. Way dirtier job. The quality was more up to the welder. Like, hey, is that a good weld? Yeah. I mean, I put a good root in it.
Yeah.
The way it should be. It's right. All right, cool. And it just installed. There was no testing, nothing they didn't shoot.
Right.
So it was less quality control, but still, it's your name on that weld. It's going to be under pressure if something happens.
It's on you.
Man, wouldn't that stink?
Right.
So it's a different kind of nerves on that one, because you didn't have that safety blanket of I repaired that, I fixed it.
Right.
It's good. I know it's good.
Right.
It's you better do it right. And
Right.
know it's good for yourself, because there's no one else coming to check that.
Gotcha. So how long was you there for that steel mill?
Probably about a month.
Gotcha.
Maybe a little longer on that one.
So did you get out of were you able to get back up on top with your finances with that job?
Yeah, I did. We worked. It wasn't like a 9 to 5 or whatever. It was a shutdown to shutdown, and they had a lot of small ones at different times.
For the month, for the whole month.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
So it was a maintenance crew that would shut down one mill and do whatever they needed to do. Run hydraulic. My main job was hydraulic lines. Just repiping the whole plant is what we were doing, slowly but surely. Okay. So when they changed rollers out on the 18-inch mill, we would go in there and run our pipe and take out this section, put a new section in. Cool, make it up and running. And then next, another 40, 50 foot, next week we'll cut that out, run it when they're shut down. And
okay.
Jumping around from mill to mill. Sometimes I need help with the machinists. Millwrights needed help, so you're doing millwright work. You're crimping hydraulic lines and taking out 2-inch bolts on whatever, and changing out lube oil exchangers and doing all kinds of different stuff that I've never done before. And that was different because, it was, hey, next time we're working, it's going to be, we're off for a day. Now we're going to come in at 3 a.m. and work to 3 p.m.
Okay.
And then you get done at 3 p.m., you get 6 hours off, then you're back to work.
Interesting.
Whoa.
So that's pretty wide open.
Swing shift. And it was averaging probably 90, 100 hours a week.
Really?
Kind of. And then, you're just off when you're off, and you're working when you're working. Every now and again, you get 2 days off in a row, and you don't know what to do with your hands anymore.
Yeah.
And I actually talked to the recruiter. I forget what company it was, Core Crew or Skilled Trades or something. I forget what crew it was, but I talked to recruiters like, hey, we're off for 2 days. You got anything around to do? They're like, well, there's a Subaru plant. He's just hands. And we'll just pay you your regular rate. It won't be no overtime on the week, but it'll just be your regular rate. We'll pay you to go in there and do stuff with him.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. So we changed out rollers in a Subaru plant that was pressing doors together. I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Just rolling it there Saturday,
Right.
Sunday.
So no welding.
No one was there, no welding, just random labor hand kind of stuff. And I was
Gotcha.
making welder pay for it.
Gotcha.
Cool. All right.
So you were just trying to get anything you could.
Yeah, because I was off for 2 days and I couldn't go home. 6-7 hour drives
Gotcha.
or whatever it was. So I was like, see if they had them.
Right.
So I did that. That was pretty cool.
So how many jobs from that job, the steel mill, did it take for you to finally break out as a rig welder?
So I had one more for Turner
Okay.
at NASA. It was on Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket deal.
Okay.
I did a whole lot of Schedule 10 stainless D11 severe on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met a guy in the campground I bought a 12-inch beveling machine while I was on that job.
Mm-hmm.
Started practicing 12-inch, running branch and bell hole.
After work
Mhm.
in the campground.
Yep.
Okay.
So I went over by the dumpsters, the corner of the campground or whatever, by the main road.
So it wasn't loud.
It was
Nothing, yeah.
by near nobody, because some campgrounds in the East Coast campgrounds really don't like that at all.
No.
West in Texas, they don't care. There's so many guys out there
Just run that
practicing
thing. Yeah.
around with a bunch of helpers and welders in the campgrounds.
Right.
It's kind of whatever.
Been like that for 30 years.
Yeah.
Right.
But over there, they're like, you can't weld here. Or if you do it again, we're gonna
On the
kick
East
you out."
Coast?
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
in
Right.
Alabama. Yeah, I think it was in.
That's where you was at in Alabama?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was near the Redstone Arsenal base,
And
Decatur.
they were just building Jeff Bezos' rocket?
Yeah, it was for the test stand. So
Gotcha.
they're doing all the liquid nitrogen and liquid oxygen
Mhm.
lines for that.
Gotcha.
That test stand to test the rocket.
Okay.
And we were doing that 300 foot up in the air, hands up there and stuff,
Mhm.
crazy. And then while I was practicing, met a rig welder, rolled in there, it's like started talking,
Mm-hmm.
just messed like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Oh, yeah, I'm trying to break out.
Right.
I was like, well, I know a guy. I was like, really? You know
Yeah.
a guy? Well, how about you let me give
Yeah.
him a phone call? I was like, here's the number, man. Tell him you know me. We were out here, in the campground practicing together, and he's a good dude, blah, blah, blah. And I just called him up, like, hey, man, you got a job? He's like, yeah, but not right now. We'll keep you in mind. Just call us every now and again, check in, and we'll get you out here one of these days.
Mhm.
So I told him everything I was doing, all the experience I had, and what I wanted to do. And it took a couple months. That job ended. Went back home, ended up getting a job that I could drive to from my house up in Ohio, and was working in a Kosh chicken plant there, doing some sanitary and Schedule 10
Mhm.
stainless there. And that job, I was on that job for 2 weeks before I drug up on it, and then went to this job I was waiting on
Yeah.
the whole time, and then been chasing drilling rigs ever since.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what we try to tell people is the job that you want, the high paying jobs, the rig jobs, those type of jobs, they're not going to be advertised.
Yeah.
It's all meeting somebody and them knowing somebody and you knowing somebody and bringing that together.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. But it takes several jobs of just getting in the industry and getting your foot in the door and just working through all the problems to get to that point,
A lot of persistence.
Of
And even with that job, like I've tried to help some other guys get on with their company, but they last 2-3 weeks on the phone, and then you never hear from them again.
Really?
And they're like, well, we had a spot, but this guy just quit calling us, and this guy kept calling us.
Right.
We're gonna hit him. And guys that just knew the industry, they hired a guy that was eager to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't the slickest hand. He wasn't a golden arm. He wasn't a combo welder. He could weld. He passed the test. But he knew he was a roughneck first. So they'd rather have a guy that's hungry, really hungry for it, who really wanted to work hard, do a good job,
Mm-hmm.
over the guy that's more cocky, like I'm the best and whatever I can do, go wherever I want, do whatever I want, and
Right.
not care as much about doing a good job in the moment,
Gotcha.
which was way more important to them in that industry.
Okay. And so how long have you been doing what you wanted to do, which is the rig welding?
2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. Still want to get on a pipeline, but I've gotten to where I'm making pretty good money.
Really?
Chasing rigs, doing wellheads.
Right.
So I'm finally on weld heads now after about a year of doing it. And those are a little different than I thought they were going to be. Yeah.
So what's the last 2 years you've been doing it? What's the difference between when you started on drill rigs and the well heads now? Like, what's the difference between
They have more trust in me. They know I'm not going to mess anything up on the rigs. So they can send me out anywhere, repair anything out there,
Okay.
and not need no help, not need to make a phone call. They know I'm good.
Really?
So once you do that for a while, the top couple guys are the ones that get the wellhead jobs.
And that's with your company you're with?
Yeah, well, pretty much most drilling companies, like chasing rig companies.
Okay.
You got to be there for a while, know what you're doing, and they got to be able to trust you and count on you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you make a weld on a wellhead and it goes up, that could be $100,000 in 10 seconds.
All right.
It could be millions of dollars. That's why you gotta have $2 million insurance policy on the truck.
Right.
$1 million an instance for 2 instances. And the company carries like 40-something million just for covering guys working around the well.
Right.
For that.
Okay. So what does a normal day look like for you on a drill rig?
There's not one.
Gotcha. It's all different.
All different.
Every day's different.
Constantly. Which is a good thing. It breaks up monotony of it. They're having you build a lot of stuff on the fly. Like, hey, we don't know how, but make this work. You just got to make something up that make it work. And then there's a lot of, we need this done wrong to get us to the next hole or get us to the next pad, and then come back later and fix it right back.
Okay.
So there's a lot of welding on live lines. It's got mud and water flowing through it, and you're welding over it, and you're making 6, 7, 8 gob weld over it, and it looks terrible.
Just to keep it. Right.
Keep the liquid in the pipe. We got to get, we got 25 hours, and then you come back, replace this piece.
Yeah, we'll shut it down.
But that's where I've seen a lot of stuff online. It's like, man, these guys look at this terrible weld on this thing. I'm like, in the back of my mind, like, yeah, but you don't know the emergency repair lab at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right. You don't know the whole story.
Yeah.
I mean, people only see a picture, a small picture.
That looks terrible. Yeah, it does. But it's holding.
Yeah.
That's the purpose they want.
Right.
Because if they shut down, it's thousands of dollars every minute.
Every minute.
And it's like, man, it's not worth 15 grand for you to make a pretty weld.
Right.
We'd much rather not shut down and you weld over a bunch of trash and porosity and just keep it flowing and build up your walls and just cover the whole thing up with a bunch of weld right now to get us in the next hole, then come back later when on a rig move, cut it apart, and get us in.
Gotcha. So they keep track of all that and then come back.
And then it's like welding on some of their hopper lines and stuff. They get corroded real bad. That's on Schedule 40. By the time you strike an arc on it, it blows a giant hole in it, Schedule 5.
Gotcha.
It's crazy, like stuff like that. And you got to know how to, I know this one. Give me some piece of metal, we're going to scab over, we're going to just patch it. We're going to weld around the patch, we're not going to weld in the hole.
Right.
Because we ain't got time to deal with draining this whole line and messing with that line.
So, you wanted to be a pipeline welder, but you've been doing the rig work for a while now. Are you content with doing the rig work and you're not really so much chasing the pipeline aspect?
I'm not in as much of a hurry.
Gotcha.
I'm making
So if an opportunity pops up,
I'm making less per hour than most rig welders.
Right.
Generally.
Right.
That's kind of the trade-off with rig work. You're making less per hour. You're doing a lot of dirty work, so your clothes are wrecked constantly. You're getting oil base. You got to keep spare clothes in the truck. You got to keep snacks and stuff in the truck because you could be on a rig for 36, 72 hours straight.
Wow.
Just not leave. I spent 7 days on a rig one time.
7 straight days.
7 straight days. Sleep 2 hours a night. So we had an hour drive time. It was wild. That's the second tiredest I've ever been. I did a 5-day stint straight in the Navy. Just staying up for 5 straight days doing training. I was working nights and doing training all day for security force thing. And that was the second tiredest I've ever been.
Why was that though?
So they had a rig coming out of the yard and they had to get drilling in like 2 or 3 weeks. And they had a ton of work to do. So they had everybody in our Louisiana division, everyone was there. 5 or 6 guys that we had chasing rigs were all on that location. We have emergency repairs come up, one guy would leave, go take care of it, come right back.
Wow.
So like my well boss had to go to my camper, get my clothes, go wash them for me, bring them back. Like brought food every day for us. And like we're just going as hard as we can, making anything that you could make on a rig, we were making it.
Wow.
So tons of handrails, kickboards. We were making removable and foldable like guards. So you open up a pit, you set a guard down, and you got chains and block it off. Somebody falls in it, and then you want to be able to shut the hash and then fold it down flat, stuff like that.
Okay.
Mud line, so our 5.5 inch triple X wall, we're holding 10,000 psi on it. We're fabbing a whole new mud line. We did 10 inch, 12 inch flow lines.
Okay.
So there was saddles getting tied in, like making saddle tie-ins, because just how it happened had to happen, like so many moving parts. We had to fabricate this line backwards and then tie it into what was existing.
Okay.
So our tie-in was a branch on a 45. So that one was an interesting fitting experience, and then ended up nailing it. I was like super stoked like that.
So that was on that 7-day thing.
Yeah, I was part of that.
So did you make a lot of money that week?
I think I had a $10,000 paycheck.
Golly, dude.
It was
That's
100.
pretty gnarly.
It was because we had 2 hours of sleep a night, but our drive time to go home and like back was an hour each way, and we charge from the time you leave the campground wherever you're at to the time you get back,
Okay.
or to the shop. So that's how we charge those jobs out. So since we had 2 hours built in, and they wanted as much work as done as possible, we get 2 hours of sleep in their drive time, and then back to work. So we were on the clock for 7 straight days.
Okay.
168-hour check.
So you flew in to spend some time here in Ohio, and you're currently on a rig working, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you're not necessarily on a rig.
You're working at one.
We got like probably 100 plus rigs that we go to, and
Right.
there's 20 some welders. So a lot of times the pusher will get your number, and they like you, so they'll ask for you specifically to come out.
You guys are on the rig.
You'd say the foreman or the superintendent
Of the rig.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we like Matt.
the drilling
Bring
company.
him back.
And
Gotcha.
there's gas company work.
Gotcha.
So the more work, the work that you like, chasing rigs is the gas man, the company man. You want that gas company work because that's well heads, that's flow line, that's
So just networking.
the cleaner and the more fun work.
Right.
And then the dirtier, sloppy, and the mud pits and handrails and stuff like that. Stuff that they kind of don't want to do is on the drillers,
Gotcha.
on the drilling company.
Right.
So there's 2 companies on every pad that you're
Okay.
working for, and each one, like one rig, we only go for the drilling company on this rig because they like a different company over here, and they're buddies with this guy who started
Okay.
his own company, and they use them.
Mhm.
And then vice versa on a different rig. And there's 20 of us going to 100 some rigs.
Gotcha.
So we're always, if somebody's in a bind, they like to use this guy, but he's busy, someone else fills in. And it's just whoever's up next goes to the rig. When we ain't got nobody, hey, we can be there in an hour. This guy's about to finish.
Okay.
Cool, he's done, he goes to that rig. Stuff like
Gotcha.
that.
So
And then it's a more extreme up and down. So you'll have those 7 days on a rig, oh my, and then you'll have a 15-hour week.
okay.
And it's up and down.
Gotcha.
Generally faster, more busy in the summer, slower in the winter, but you'll have up and down within the month as well.
So what's some advice that you would give somebody who wants to be a rig welder, whether it's on the pipeline or drill rigs? What's something you wish you would have known or had practiced, maybe in welding school, or just what's a better way that you would have went to doing
Something
that?
I did that I would recommend to everybody is having a phone book and getting everybody's number. What I would recommend to everybody is getting a phone book and keeping everybody's number, everyone you work with, instructors, any contacts they give you for recruiters. And I have thousands of phone numbers in a phone book of people that I work with, people I've never worked with. I said, hey, if you need a job, call my friend over here, he'll look you up. All those numbers saved and what state and what kind of work they do. And that networking got me the willingness, like talk to somebody you don't even know. So that's kind of with breaking into trying to get into oil and gas. That's going to be your number one is helping, being a helper out there is the for sure way that you can break out. Go show them, hey, I'm a good worker. Hey, I'm practicing every day. Hey, look at this weld. I can do this. Hey, look at this. I'm making brake test every other Thursday.
Right.
See this? Hey, what do you think about this right here? Is this will this pass? Like, yeah, man, that's good, dude.
Right.
Once a welder sees that and a helper, oh, I know he can do it.
Right.
So the next job they're on, hey, we need 15 guys over here. Well, I know this guy. He's he's ready for it.
Networking.
So the welders want to break out their helpers. It's like, man, I broke him out.
Right.
Yeah, that's another dude. I got him out there.
Really?
That's like a good thing. But it's on the same note, if you're a bad worker, if you're, oh man, I don't want to buff this right now.
Right.
If you ask for a rod, they're just slow about it. They're slowing you down. That's when, man, does this guy even want it?
Right.
Like, is he hungry for this? And if you practice once a week, well, this guy ain't trying, but the
Right.
other guy is. That's another way.
Showing initiative.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because everybody wants to work with a guy that's a go-getter. You don't want
Right.
to work with someone that's going to slow you down.
Right,
And
exactly.
then end up getting your company run off the job.
Right.
That's the worst case scenario for everybody, because ain't nobody making money. Everybody's going home looking for another job.
Yep. Screwing everybody over.
You know? So you want those guys that are showing that. You want the guys that are working hard.
Okay. So your end goal is real estate, correct?
Mhm.
So what's your timeline looking like on that? Are you how many more years are you gonna do the rig work, or are you already moving in that direction?
So I wanted to save up a big nest egg of money and then invest in real estate. And then I didn't have a set timeline, but I wanted 5-10 year. I wanted to have an apartment complex within 5 to 10 of welding. I didn't know how long it's going to take. I've had setbacks, a lot of setbacks. Wrecked a truck. I've had to pay out of pocket for this, that, and the third. And then tools are expensive and only
Right.
getting more expensive.
Right.
So I've been doing that and saving money and trying to put it all basically in Robinhood, just keeping that growth stock mutual funds, my savings account.
Yeah.
And then I've been buying and selling welding machines. So I get buy a SA200 that's in good shape up here back home. And I go out back to work in West Texas. I'll take it with me and sell for
A lot
3 or
cheaper
4
up here,
times a
aren't
month.
they?
Yeah, and then you can find ones that've been in barns and well kept, original, everything.
Uh-huh.
Where you can't find that really in West Texas because everybody's welding up there, so all the machines have been used and abused. So you can bring
Art
in
gouged with.
crazy stuff, like
Yeah.
it just wore out.
Right.
Some of them, and generally every machine out there is worth more than it is up here. So I'm already going, might as well.
Okay.
Stuff like that, and then flipping tools and stuff. So when I was in the Navy, I didn't have a whole lot of money to work with to break out, like to put a rig truck together, because it's pretty expensive. Like between buying a dually diesel truck, buying a welding bed, like you can spend 25 grand on a welding bed these days at some of these companies, or you spend weeks and months and years, getting yours just perfect.
Right.
So I mean, it can add up pretty quick. But that's another thing, advice I would give to somebody that's trying to break out. If you're going the helper route, which is what I recommend,
Okay.
don't buy everything right now. You don't need your dually truck. You don't need a welding machine right now. You don't need your welding bed right now, because you're going to meet somebody that's got 2 and is looking to sell his.
Gotcha.
Or you're going to meet somebody that's, this guy, I know, hey, a friend of mine is retiring. Man, you want to buy his stuff? You can buy his whole setup. Pennies on the dollar.
Right.
They're going to help you out to get started, and they're going to help you find deals. Like, hey man, don't buy this bevel machine because see this tooth right here is chipped. That's how you know it's been dropped, and
Right.
it's probably not going to cut square. And if it does, it's going to keep chipping teeth
Right.
and break on you.
Gotcha.
So you can find more deals just by networking that way as well. So
Right.
I went the other route of wheeling and dealing. So I bought like a 16 tool set used on Facebook Marketplace, pulled out the 2 tools that I needed and sold the rest for individually for as much or more than I had. So I
Okay.
got a lot of tools that way, and found a deal on a beveling machine that had barrel torches, but I already had barrel torches, so I sold those and covered some of the cost of the beveling machine and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I was wheeling and dealing to get my tool set up that way.
And the cool thing is, while you're being a helper and getting all these tools and acquiring everything, at any point in time you didn't have to worry because you knew how to uphill and TIG and all that stuff. So if the helper thing didn't work out, you could still find work.
Yeah, because if, as a helper, if your welder busts or repairs out,
You're screwed.
you're gone.
You're done.
You can try, like, hey, can you keep me on as a labor hand? And then, well, we're full up, man. Sorry.
And that's what I
So
was
you're
saying.
looking for work, and your
Right.
helper, your welder might be, have money in the bank, ready to go to the house.
You're dependent
So you're
upon
like,
them.
oh, come on, man, let's go to the next job. No, dude, I got to see family,
And,
wife and kids and stuff, and you're like, oh.
and that's
well,
the biggest thing I try to tell people.
That's
is
a
like,
risk with it. So if you can uphill, man, you got your welder got run off this job, or he just said, I'm time to go home. you can hop on a plant job up there, or find something you can do. If you do a multifaceted things, you're not going to be without work, especially if you're a good worker and you have good work ethic. You're going to find work somewhere.
So I always tell people, yeah, you could go just be a helper, but you're just a helper and you're dependent on whatever welder you're working for. But if you can do uphill and already TIG and everything, you can stay busy year round.
Yeah.
So.
And then if you're not hauling 2,000 pounds of tools on a welding rig already, if you have a car, it's a lot easier to jump to and from jobs like that. If you don't have a big camper, because I had I knew this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going, so I went for a fifth wheel camper. I found a good deal on it, so I was like, well, this is gonna be my house, and I'm gonna be living in it 12 months out of the year. I'm taking 2 or 3 weeks off a year. Why not get the bigger one?
Yeah.
That's something else I would recommend. Probably not go for the fifth wheel.
Gotcha.
Especially if you're going to work in Northeast and in West Virginia. There's not a lot of campgrounds that fit a 42-foot camper.
Right.
You need like 35 foot. You're going to be your max as you want to have. I cracked the fiberglass on my welding machine on my truck in West Virginia trying to get out of a campground.
Just like jackknifing?
Yeah, middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning. Some guy was helping me. Yeah, come on. I was like, hey man, watch this corner on this welding machine. So I started backing up, and then just didn't have enough clearance the way that bed was
2 in
set
the
up.
morning.
Yeah. And he's like, you're good. I see it. You're fine.
Oh my God.
Oh, I just told you about that, man.
Right.
Come on. Stuff like that happens. It's good. It would have been nice to know that beforehand.
Okay.
But yeah. So I had that goal of this is what I'm doing. I know I'm doing it. Buy once, cry once. Yes, but maybe not necessarily.
Gotcha.
Maybe getting by. If I would have chose to getting by just right for a short period of time, probably would have been better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instead of getting everything at once.
Right.
Gotcha. Real big and heavy.
I knew what I wanted, so I had the welding rig ready to go. Had an SA200. I got my bottles, but I could have saved a little money and a little headache if I had went the other route.
Okay.
Yeah. Waited a little bit longer.
Gotcha.
And that just comes with networking too. If I would have known more people in the industry, some, first generation rig welder.
Right.
Dad's a railroad engineer, mom's a nurse.
Okay.
Grandpa welded back in the day, but yes, I'm not fourth generation.
Right.
Or
Got all the
these
connections. Right.
It's a lot different outside breaking into something that you don't even have a cousin.
Exactly.
I don't have a friend.
No.
Of a friend. I got no immediate connections to the industry.
Exactly.
Let me in.
That's how it was for me. First generation, like traveling welder, like you have to start from scratch. You have to build your name.
Yeah.
And now, I just got my 2 brothers and my sister's husband on a job with Universal Plant Services. So now they're into the big money in the big industry, but I didn't do it as soon as they started. I let them, listen, you're going to learn how to get your own jobs and everything first and get good on these other jobs.
That's the good connections anyways.
Yes.
That's the ones that are good for years.
Exactly. So I was like, listen, y'all learn how to get your own jobs. Get good at welding, make your mistakes with these smaller companies, and then whenever you're ready, I'll determine whether you're ready or not, and then I'll get you on. So that's
not a light thing either.
No.
Because you can't be like, oh yeah, I'll get any of my friends get on.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, man, you're gonna look bad, and they're not gonna like you for that.
I'll tell
Like
you.
it's your fault that this happened.
Yep.
Because you brought them here.
And that's the thing. It's like, don't just hire family members because they're family, and don't hire anybody because they're gonna burn you.
Yep.
I mean, I've had a couple people burn me on jobs. Hopefully you haven't. Have you had anybody burn you on a job?
2 with getting jobs.
That's what I'm saying. You got them on, and they screwed it up.
No, not getting people on. Going to, I got a test for you. Getting there, there's no test. Or finding out, he lost that job.
Really?
And like getting my ducks in a row.
So the company screwed your buddies going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's the thing too, it's like it could go 2 ways. The company, your buddy gets there, they're not testing, or your buddy gets on the job and then drags up or makes you look really bad. That's the hard thing. It's so hard to explain to people that you really haven't welded with, or you don't know that you can't get them a solid job with your company, and it happens all the time. And it's just, you guys something you gotta be careful about. People don't realize, like, you can't just get everybody on the job. It's your name and what you've worked for.
And then, like with my experience starting out, since I didn't know anybody, I had to get my own job. So when you get that first job, it's not a job that's the slickest hands in the world are on.
Right.
So you had to get that job with little to no experience, but you know, I can weld. Here's the test I've passed. I can do it. Give me a shot. So since you've done that, you know that's an option. So when you see somebody that's like, "Well, just get me on your job, man," it's like,
Right.
you gotta put in the little work.
Yeah.
Go get a job. Like,
Yeah, go
here's the tools I used. I'll even show you. This one's gonna be a good one.
Right.
See these right here? You know that's not gonna be so hot because of X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
And you can show them like open job postings on Road Dog Jobs.
Right.
Man. I tell everybody, Road Tax, Road Dog Jobs.
Yep, those are the two best, I think.
Get on there and look and just keep up with it.
Just get on something.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the money. It doesn't just get it because there's going to be somebody.
And then your
on
phone
that
number
job.
on there.
Yep.
If you find one with a phone number,
Easy.
let's go.
Bam. Call
Yeah.
it. Well, the thing is, you're going to get on that job and you're going to meet guys who go on high-paying jobs, but they're just on that job because their other jobs
Close to the house.
Right. Something simple,
In
and you're going to
between.
meet people. Right. So that's a big deal. It's just don't rely on somebody. Be independent. Learn how to get your own jobs. That'll help you out in the long run for sure. Besides welding, and we talked about it a minute ago, you really don't have any other like hobbies or things you like to do. But what, from your perspective, what do you like to do outside of welding, or do you just like welding?
So I've kept myself busy and, you know, moving with a purpose. So I'm always working on a truck or welding machine or flipping something or something like that. And I generally work as much as possible. So we have those busy weeks. So it ain't nothing to do with work, and we're just working.
Right.
Couple hours sleep a night, back to it. Staying on rigs for 2-3 days at a time. Get 8 hours rest.
Okay.
Go again. Stuff like that. I'm building a welding bed for my truck right now,
Okay.
which I got burned in South Texas, going for a bed, explaining in immense detail to a company out there what I wanted. I'm willing to pay more than what you're even asking for, but I want it done right. I want it done this way. Got down there, it wasn't what I thought it was. Nowhere near what I even asked for. Had Bondo all over the beds on the corners and filling gaps. So it was just not gonna be what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I got burned on that a little bit. So I was like, you know what? I didn't have the 25 grand at the time to go buy, you know, somebody that's really doing great work to spend on their bed, because that's what they're charging for a really good one. You could get by on a tub rig with a skid. You can build it for a couple
Right.
grand. I've done that. I've had a welding bed that I bought. That was a mainline bed, which is different than what I needed it for, because on a mainline, you need a grinder, a file, a weld cap, a bucket,
Side.
A remote.
Who's your pole?
Hose pole.
All right. That's it.
You don't need to carry a bunch of tools.
All right.
You know, there's no 2-hole pins on a mainline.
Right.
You're just putting pipe together all day.
Right.
So I bought somebody's grandpa's old pipeliner bed, and I had, you know, 4-inch boxes on each side. And I'm like,
Nothing.
yeah. The bottle rack happened to be smaller than you know, a 200 size bottle is smaller than bottles.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, at the time I didn't know. I had 300s bottles, which the industry standard is your 200 series auction bottles. So I had 300s to fit in the smaller than 200 hole, so I had to cut the auction bottle box apart and make it bigger. It was already close enough to the welding machine. I had to put them catty corners, so it was super hard to get in and out.
God.
I had a number 5 acetylene, because I was like, well, if I get that, it'd be easier and fill up less. Well, no, it's not. You should just put 2 number 4s, and there you go, you're
Right.
good. So fabbing that bed, like changing it, I'll never do again. I got it super cheap, and then I had time because I was in school and I was fixing it and making it bigger and changing things. And then then when I broke out and got on jobs, I was, man, okay, I might get off, you know, hey boss, I'm gonna get 12 hours here, probably.
Right.
Yeah, probably. So I cut a box off and then put a new one in, and
Okay.
doing all stuff like that. So I kind of like, I'm not wanting to buy a bed and change it.
Yeah.
So I was looking on Facebook Marketplace, find one. There was nothing out there that did exactly what I wanted. So I kind of figured out what I wanted in a bed as I was working in a bed that was terrible for me.
Yeah.
So now I'm building one that's going to be, it's going to look slick, it's going to hold a ton of tools just like I need. It's going to have 2 acetylenes like I like, where most guys run 1 because they're just, whenever they get low, they just take 2 options in and 1 acetylene in, swap them out, whatever. I'm a contractor, so I pay for every ounce of oxygen acetylene in
Right.
bottles.
Right.
So I'd rather, since I'm working 4 hours on this rig and 8 hours on that one, and I'm getting off at noon in the middle of the day and then working 24 hours straight. Well, when I go from one job to the other, I just pull in the air gas, take off with one, empty acetylene.
Yep.
While I'm on the other one, throw the second one on the truck, it's full, go about my business.
Gotcha.
Whenever I have options, I can use it all the way up and save a little bit of money that way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I finally got that bed coming together. It's almost done. But it took to get it how I wanted it with a little bit too much perfection. A little too trying to get everything just so perfect.
Right.
A little too much to make it look as slick as I possibly can.
Okay.
It's taking a lot longer than I thought it would.
That's all right though. I mean, that's your personal bed, and you're going to use it
And
for
then
the
it's-
next couple of years.
I didn't think it was as much of a business card as it is.
So we just finished up talking with Matt King and him sharing his life experience in the Navy and now rig welding, and his future goals are to own real estate and get into that business as well. If you have any questions or comments for Matt, you can hit him up. Where would you like them to hit you up at?
Probably
Instagram?
Instagram.
Okay.
Matt King 54.
Yep, so you can DM Matt King and ask him any questions. If you are in the military or you're wanting to get into rig welding or have any questions for him, you can DM him on Instagram, and we'll have that link below for you guys. That's it for today on Chatting with Past Graduates here at the Kentucky Welding Institute. So hopefully you guys like this video. We'll be putting out more videos on our YouTube channel, so subscribe to that. And also check out our website. We have links, and we also have shop for clothing and a virtual tour. Until next time, see you there.